We're here today to talk about security specifically, and this is an area where WI thinks is very important, so do our customers, and we have added a number of heads to our security practice in recent months to further bolster what we've already been doing. And cyber's an animal. There's a lot of different OEMs in this space, and there's a lot of different products around cyber. There's the cloud security, network security, endpoint, IoT, app security, identity access, risk compliance, disaster recovery, SD-WAN, SIM, SASE, which we're here to talk about today, ZTNA, SOAR, security ops. There's just a ton, right? And I will say that Fortinet, they're at the top of this list. They are a great partner of ours and do exceptionally well, and certainly a market leader if you're looking at the Gartner quadrants, right? WI has invested in engineering in their portfolio. We have, I think this is out of date, but we have something like 7 NSE level 7 engineers on our bench. And that's the highest level of certification you can get with Fortinet around security. And so, and we have a number of customers that consume their technologies from the portfolio, SASE being one of them. And I'm sure you're somewhat familiar, but that's what today is all about, is to do a workshop and get you a little bit more familiar. SASE is really just allows you to access the web, cloud, apps securely, right? And more simply as well, operationally speaking. So it combines SD-WAN and the SSE, the Secure Service Edge, to just basically make sure that you're in a good place as far as network security go for network edge and remote users. So yeah, that's all I had. I know today's really for you to go deeper, but wanted to just kind of add some air cover for you, George, to set the table. But thank you for hosting today.
Good morning, folks. George Magee here, Channel SE, covering the Northeast, based out of Peterborough, New Hampshire, tucked over in the Monadnock region. And yeah, we're here to take a look at SASE. So we've got a bit of a slide deck that we can go through and explain at a high level what the solution is. All right, so from an agenda standpoint, we'll look at trends and challenges and use cases, things like that, and we'll dig a bit deeper into Fortinet's what we call a universal SASE solution. Take a peek at the specific technologies that are bundled together to provide the entire solution. Quick review, so a little bit of data that folks have pulled together. Obviously with the past few years, hybrid or fully remote workforce has become a much larger percentage of the folks that are out there. Of course, the number of applications that people are actually utilizing on-prem has dropped significantly. Most everything you do is online. This Zoom call, for instance, I'm running the SASE agent and FortiClient on my laptop, so I'm going to pop here on the East Coast and then getting directed right over to the Zoom app hosting to present this stuff to you. So there's also been a trend, not just in remote connectivity, but just security wide, even data center wide, of doing some sort of a vendor consolidation, trying to get from utilizing dozens of different vendors to something that's a lot more manageable for IT teams that tend to be a bit stretched and strained these days. So we're looking at, according to some reports, 75% of folks are looking for some sort of vendor consolidation. We're also looking to really enhance their security postures more than just logging in with a username, password, perhaps multi-factor authentication. Also driving to a zero trust posture with constant posture checking and things like that. So where you started with basic connectivity and VPN, SD-WAN became a hot topic, and you may have heard me present on SD-WAN with WEI before. That's something that's inherent in the core of our FortiGate firewalls and is a foundation for connectivity up to SASE cloud when you're dealing with on-prem deployments. We'll dig into that a little bit later. And then the next logical progression then, of course, is to bundle SD-WAN technologies and things like that, the VPN overlays, et cetera, with that secure services edge, which gives you your various components: firewall as a service, this zero trust we're talking about, secure web gateway, CASB, sandboxing, all sorts of things like that. Another trend we're seeing is back to that vendor consolidation. When SASE started to get, even when SD-WAN was starting to get big, you might have folks using a number of point product vendors to deliver the entire solution that you want to utilize to protect your internal resources, protect your your human assets and things like that, the folks that are on the road or working from home or what have you. So you've got 50 plus vendors out there that provide some component to what we consider a SASE solution. About 20 or so vendors that are able to do it in a dual vendor scenario. They might be partnered with somebody to deliver SD-WAN underneath the more app-centric stuff that's out there. And now this consolidation to a universal or single vendor SASE, where what Fortinet provides is essentially every component you would need for a SASE solution, all running on a single operating system, FortiOS under the hood, and working out of the POPs that we have stationed around the globe and things like that. So from a challenges standpoint, always a concern. Where are the gaps? How can I see them? What kind of visibility do I have into where those gaps may be, where the bad guys might be poking around looking for a way to get in? So, more statistics coming from Panacea and others that are talking about, 82% of security leaders, CISOs, CTOs, things are still getting surprised by certain security events that are able to get through. Oftentimes that's because of that lack of visibility, and upwards of 60% of companies have said that they're not confident that they're seeing everything that might be going on within their environments. And you do have problems with still have problems with folks that are unhappy with their wireless coverage in an office. Here in Manchester, all sorts of old brick mill buildings and things like that. There might be dead spots, so somebody's going to go ahead and bring in a little home use router with a access point built in, something like that. So there's still folks that are doing that, and IT departments still need to have the visibility to catch that and prevent that sort of stuff from going on. So some of the stuff that's bundled in here, what are people actually wanting to do? How do they want to utilize these products? So the first and obvious one is secure internet access, SIA. So the folks that are sitting in their home office or sitting in a remote a small satellite office or something like that, up to the HQs and data centers and things where you need to provide that firewall as a service and secure web gateway as they're going out and onto the interwebs, to make sure that where they're going is okie dokie and not going to cause problems. You also have so a lot of companies still may host apps internally. Maybe they're not 365. They've got Exchange in-house or something like that, other tools of that nature, and the remote users still need to be able to get at that stuff. So with our secure SD-WAN under the covers as the underlay, being able to, when somebody logs in with their SASE client to one of our POPs, having that traffic be able to go not only to a 365 or a Salesforce or something like that, but also be able to head back down to your data center, your HQ, being able to provide that secure private access along with the zero trust posture and the ongoing checks that zero trust brings with it. So, all those things, SIA, SPA, and that access to the SaaS applications that everybody's utilizing today, all rolled right in to our solution. So if we look at it, the first bubble's there, probably what some folks are still utilizing when we're dealing with that secure private access. There might be folks that are still operating a VPN controller or something like that. So moving from legacy VPN, which when you think about it is, build a tunnel, you have access to a network inside where resources are housed. Being able to move to zero trust, the additional checks, making sure that the permissions are such that they're not just building a tunnel and accessing a subnet, they're building a tunnel to an app. As folks are going out, proxying that stuff so that we can do the deep inspection and things of that nature. And so there might have been old, I think of the old web senses of the world and things like that, moving away from that stuff to the secure web gateway, the cloud access security broker technologies, etc. And then the modernization of the networks, going from traditional just router-based, here's a pipe, here's a T1, a DSL line, things like that. Utilizing the secure SD-WAN, you're able to take in any connectivity. Might be some legacy MPLS out there, or you're dealing with, you've got broadband connections from the cable company or what have you, being able to bundle those together with SD-WAN with built-in security controls. So that, if there's a problem with latency or jitter or packet loss or things on one particular connection you have to the internet, the secure SD-WAN is able to react automatically and direct traffic as needed to the best quality lines that are available. Now here comes a bit of an eye chart. If you look at it, you've got to have that zero trust security posture across a whole bunch of stuff, but it really breaks down into those three components. On the left-hand side, you've got the remote users who are most likely going to be connecting via FortiClient. FortiClient is as it says, a unified agent. There's a number of different components, and they'll be listed on the next slide that are built into that for connectivity and posture checking and things like that. You may have very small remote branches where you might stand up only a FortiAP or a FortiSwitch or FortiExtender. And forgive me for those of you who are unfamiliar with Fortinet, you are learning very quickly that every product we have starts with 40 and ends with whatever the heck it is. So it makes it easy on the marketing anyway. But one thing to point out here is that we have models like the FortiAP 431 that are actually can be SASE clients themselves. So if you've got a tiny little, 2 or 3 user shop somewhere, remote office, they don't necessarily have to have FortiClient on their desktop, because if they're connecting over the SSID to a FortiAP that is a node on the SASE network, then the traffic's being directed appropriately. Same thing, FortiExtender is our cell connectivity solution, so 3G, 4G, or 5G connectivity, depending on what's available in your area, and those can act as a SASE client as well. FortiSwitch, it's actually coming. That's in one of our next updates of our firmware for the FortiSwitch, where a FortiSwitch would be able to act as a SASE node as well. And then from the larger branch and campus networks that are going out, you've got full-blown secure SD-WAN running on a FortiGate, which again can connect to the SASE cloud. for anybody that's sitting behind it, and you get a lot more robust application steering and checking, and the advanced routing capabilities, your dynamic routing, which is going to be powering your SD-WAN to multiple locations. In the middle here, we've got SASE and all the little bits and pieces that it can do. So, you've got the firewall going each way, the management that's all unified under the single portal. Again, the CASB and a lot more data loss or data leak prevention tools that are built in up there, the security web gateway, zero trust, and also something, we have a FortiMonitor product that does a lot of digital experience monitoring. Some of that technology is built into our SASE cloud as well. And what that means is looking at the user experience, keeping track of the user's journey when they're trying to access a resource from their laptop to that resource itself, to make sure that there aren't hiccups along the way. Because when you're out on the interwebs, you really don't typically know where, which providers, clouds you're going through and things like that to get from point A to point B. So, having that, monitoring the connectivity from the client to our SASE cloud POP, and then from that POP over to the SaaS applications and things like that. And of course, on the right there, all the different things you can gain access to: the ServiceNow, Salesforce 365, the SIA, if they're going to various, I see Wikipedia, Netflix, and things like that. You might be using secure private access to go directly to all the major cloud providers that we support. And as I've mentioned earlier, SPA to your own data centers if you're still hosting apps and resources there that folks need to get to. So digging into the components, you of course have that FortiOS running. It's the kernel for almost all the products that we put out there. So one unified operating system gives you a lot of flexibility. You're not having to figure out how to configure different things, because they're all configured the same way. That client I mentioned, FortiClient is more than, back in the day, it was, right, here's your SSL or IPsec VPN and your EPP, standard AV scanning. Nowadays, it's got agents for all sorts of goodies. There's a privileged access management agent that's built in. So if, for you folks who are accessing sensitive resources inside your net, your routers, your switches, your servers, things like that, being able to use a privileged access management tool, what you're doing as an admin is actually, going to that PAM instance, and you would have provided some sort of authentication to get access to the PAM server, but from there the PAM is basically holding tokens and things like that for the connectivity to the server, if that's the case. So, you as the end user admin person, you're not providing the credentials that get you access to the server. You're utilizing the PAM as a broker to get over to it. There's also, NAC agent built in that helps with the posture checks and things like that are available. There's sandboxing capabilities built in, the low-end sandbox tools utilized on the client. And then if something raises a red flag, possible zero-day, things like that, that information can be sent up to a sandbox instance running in the cloud to do those checks, your web filtering, all the other things we'd mentioned. And all of this, of course, powered by FortiGuard Labs. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of threat researchers that we have around the globe, a database that is ginormous of all of the nasty things that we found throughout the history of Fortinet, which was founded in 2000. So, a lot of historical information, a lot of 3 different gigantic AI engines that we run in one of our larger data centers that are constantly analyzing stuff that we got spiders crawling the web and things like that. Of course, every FortiGate that sending something suspicious in for analysis. All that sort of stuff goes through all sorts of AI tools, and bits and pieces of that AI capability are built into all the products, including the FortiClient. The slide build here, and so a little bit more on the SIA, the secure internet access. We're looking at obviously malware and ransomware prevention, not just the signature-based stuff, but also still some standard heuristics scanning in there, awful lot of machine learning, and having those AI engines to rely on to look at that stuff, analyze it, and see if there's anything suspicious there. Being able to look deep into the packets, even if they're encrypted. So, here's where the proxying comes into play, so that even if vast majority of websites out there are running HTTPS as opposed to plain old port 80 open HTTP. So you need to have visibility into those things, so that the bad guys aren't sneaking in through an encrypted connection. And just as I mentioned, the FortiGuard labs, having that security, essentially security as a service, because it's built into everything that we do. Little peek at the console. You'll see this in labs if you decide to jump into there. Shows you, in one spot you've got all the major components that you can go ahead and configure, from the AV and web filtering, IPS, file filtering, make sure nasty files aren't coming down, DLP, DNS, application control, of course, with the CASB built in, and that deep inspection of SSL traffic. They're all default profiles. You can obviously create additional profile groups. Everybody's going to have different user sets that might need more or less access to this, that, or the other thing, and all of these things customizable. Each one of these little panels has that customized button at the bottom, so you don't need to take what we consider is our default stance. There's some stuff we might just monitor, you'll want to block, etc. So you can go ahead and customize all these things right from here. From a secure private access standpoint, again, being able to provide those remote users, those small offices that have a 40AP in them or something like that, getting them access through the SASE cloud, not only to the stuff that you might still be hosting in a data center somewhere yourselves, but also all those other, the SaaS applications, just basic internet access, things like that. All of that control with the zero trust enforcement. I'd mentioned the AI and ML before. All those things are rolled into secure private access. When you dig into that zero trust component, I mean, you're looking at, when somebody connects, it might be that a condition of access would be, maybe you've got a certificate installed on every laptop that it needs to check. Heck, it might be verifying a MAC address or something like that. So you've got the attributes of the device that's trying to connect. And when you think about it, I mean, from a Fortinet standpoint, the only device I'm carrying that I can utilize to access my internal resources at corporate is my laptop. But you might have folks, they want to be able to access something from their phone or from a tablet that you distribute or something like that. So, device attributes for all of those things. Next, the user info, obviously, what authentication you're using and things like that. And then even posture-based security. So you're checking to see maybe you're doing a check, is there AV on that particular device up to date? Things of that nature. And also, if, unlike the old VPN, somebody would connect and they would be connected until they timed out or shut down the connection. With the posture-based checks, it's a continuous check. So if the posture on that remote device changes, the zero trust can recognize that at its next posture check and remove access for that that particular client. You know, obviously that'll be logged, alerts will be generated, and things like that. So then, you know, IT teams can investigate and see if maybe that laptop got infected with something. Yeah, those checks, as I mentioned, are now happening per session as opposed to per tunnel. So every connection to a different app, each one of those sessions, you know, is constantly going through its own session checks. If you're folks who are already running SD-WAN, then, you know, a lot of the heavy lifting from a implementation standpoint is already taken care of. You've got your SD-WAN connections, your various broadband connections, T1s if they're still in use, things like that. And now, you know, want to roll into a SASE management style and access to resources, then, you know, you're building SASE on top of that foundation of SD-WAN built. You know, with that, all of that routing and steering is included in the box. Of course, FortiGates have always been, I mean, I'm biased, but, you know, really good routers. So, you know, anything you want to do with BGP and OSPF and things like that is already built in, and so you get a lot of intelligence into how these things should go. And the app support, thousands and thousands of apps that we support and scan and make sure are kosher as people are trying to connect to them. Visibility always key. What the heck is going on? Another look at the FortiSASE portal dashboard here. One of the dashboards. So, you know, from an asset map standpoint, you might have you know, a number of different remote locations that are popping up here with the connectivity between them. But you also, as you see on the right there, you're looking right at the SD-WAN setups. And are they operational? Is there a problem? You know, in one spot, you could see a red flag if for some reason a particular location was having a problem with their connectivity. So, you know, fantastic to be able to, you know, have that up on a monitor somewhere in a NOC or SOC and keeping an eye on things. Let's see, here's your, you know, you might have, you can see these are listed as primary and redundant hubs. So when you're setting up SD-WAN, it might be, you know, smaller shops. It might be just, you know, individual SD-WAN configurations. If you've got a lot of remote offices, you might have either a active, think of it as active or active passive in terms of a single hub or dual hub configurations for your SD-WAN infrastructure. And if you've got a lot of offices, you'll probably be running some sort of dual hub process, and it may be that you know, you've got a primary hub and a redundant that's available if something goes wrong or is constantly running. All of the available POPs that you have you are connecting to, and as I said, we've got a number of POPs around the globe. And then you can also see if you're digging in, don't know how well it shows up on your screen, but way down on the bottom there in Houston, we got a remote user. So if we're digging into connectivity issues, we can even see how the remote users are doing. Kind of redundant information as I've been talking along. I always seem to talk ahead of my slides, but you know, you're looking at that ability to do access control for apps based in the cloud. Again, that deep inspection and being able to look at you know, the content that's coming through from maybe what's hosted on a web page that's being visited, or looking at files that might be downloaded from your you know, Dropbox or you know, OneDrive or other cloud-based resources of that nature. And again, the FortiClient having all of the components built in to be able to be a part of this inspection as traffic is passing through our SASE cloud. Those CASB capabilities that are built in, that's that box with the green logo in the lower left there. So, you know, at a glance, you can see the status of particular applications, what kind of activity history surrounds those applications? Are there statistics about the risk? In this particular instance, we got 1 allowed, 9 things blocked, and 17 being monitored. And it can identify for you. Maybe you've got a user who's exhibiting more risky behavior than the norm. Maybe you've got a lot. Maybe that's the folks in the C-suite. Who knows? So you can also look at trends about risk and usage over time. Here's a screenshot. So looking at 365 access over the past quarter, 3 months, 90 days, however you want to address that particular time frame. But it'll tell you what the app is. You can see alerts by severity and things like that. What kind of policies violations have happened, and the number of alerts there. Maybe it's documents that have been downloaded. Who are the top 5 high-risk users that needed talking to, things of that nature. What are the most risky activities that have been found, and total activity trend over time. All this stuff is part of the panels and dashboards that are built into our SASE portal. And we'll pivot a little bit and we'll take a look at the different subscriptions that are available. So standard subscription will give you a number of things built right in. You'll see, DLP and Sandbox and things of that nature are built right into the standard subscription. The advanced subscription starts adding in things like that digital experience monitoring, integration with our SOC as a service component. That product is our own analysts taking information that's being logged into a FortiAnalyzer and being able to generate alerts and make phone calls, things like that. If they see something that's going squirrely there, our forensic services and onboarding assistance and things like that, the ability to add on public IPs. If you need to have a public IP available for remote users to connect to certain resources for, that can be done there as an add-on, adding on multiple POPs and things. And I talk about those two first because with our standard subscription and the advanced, those are subscriptions that are hosted in Fortinet data center gear. So full racks. They're hosted in Equinix data centers around the globe. There are currently upper 20s, I think 27 or 28 active POPs, with more coming online all the time, all over the place. So when you're looking at this at a standard or advanced, know that is all stuff that is hosted in our gear, in our racks, in major data centers around the world. If you want a whole lot more options for POP location, the comprehensive level there is what rides on GCP, Google Cloud Platform. And so you can think of standard or advanced, power hosted, comprehensive, GCP hosted, and you pick one or the other. There isn't you can't blend them at this point in time. But the user bands that pop up here, minimum order quantity of 50 seats, but you can go up to thousands and thousands. We've actually got some clients that are running these things now that are SASE deployments. On the largest one is over 300,000 endpoints that are being run through FortiSASE. Give you a little bit of an idea about that POP location. We are just about everywhere. You've got everything from obviously a lot of spots here in the U.S. all the way down to Australia. Lots of others in APAC and EMEA, LATAM, and more coming online all the time. It's a constant churn of what they're building out for us. So you can see that's a good question. I wonder if I'm connecting to Virginia, to Ashburn. Montreal's a little bit closer than that, but I believe I'm connecting through Ashburn just as an example. Mark had mentioned some of the industry analyst feedback that's been coming back, waiting to see, from a Gartner standpoint for single vendor SASE, here we are as a challenger, and, obviously want to be a little bit more to the right. Our ding back in the day when this particular one came out almost a year ago was the number of POPs. We hadn't rolled out the GCP based POP system yet and things like that. So expectation that for Gartner there was really a minimum quantity of POPs that they've decided is the absolute bare minimum that any vendor should be running. So we'll see that bump up. You can see Forrester was able to recognize us as a leader here. And for me, I mean, analysts are fantastic and all, but for me, hearing it from other customers. So if you're looking at Gartner's customer choice with the peer insights, you can see we're right there with a couple of other top vendors in that upper right quadrant where everybody wants to be. For a bit of a review, what's everybody looking for? Simplifying operations, big key for folks these days, and cost savings as well. I've been reading a lot of articles lately about everybody recognizing the need for enhanced security postures, but some security budgets are pulling back a little bit. So having a economical solution available is certainly a key component for folks. That consistent security posture, you've got all that FortiGuard Labs goodness, along with having all those various agent components built into a single client agent, so you're not having to load 5 different agents onto a laptop before you send it to a remote user, and having a full security stack under the hood, the digital experience monitoring and things like that obviously contributes to a much better user experience. And it's all about making sure the users can get where they need to go quickly, securely, without many hiccups at all, because then they're not picking up the phone and calling your help desk. I'll let that build. I'll click through. So this is providing that security posture that's consistent no matter where somebody's logging in from. Are they in a small remote office? Are they in a coffee shop of their choice? I'm a Dunks guy, I'm going to say that, but hey, it's because where I'm at, that better user experience. I'll say, from my own experience, because I'm, now that I'm rolled over to corporate SASE, I'm finding that when I'm applying filters to Tableau reports, for instance, those filters are loading and applying and providing me the data much more quickly than if I were just doing an SSL connection into corporate. So I've seen a much better user experience, and also even my sometimes I'd open a tab on the browser and connect to one of our hosted applications, be it Salesforce, Tableau, our FortiCare if I need to look into tickets and things, and I might have to log in multiple times. I've also seen that since I've got the SASE client here and I am connecting into a POP that's going direct to corporate, not only am I not having to log in multiple times, but I'm also not having to build a separate tunnel to get to some resources that I can't get to unless I was consciously building, connecting an SSL tunnel to get into our data centers over on the left coast in Sunnyvale or Vancouver, places like that. And then the efficiency, you're looking at, not having to look at, multiple panes of glass to be able to configure and manage and alert to and all that sort of stuff. So the consolidation to a single vendor universal SASE approach Also, being able to shift, some of that CapEx stuff to an OpEx based model might make sense for the accountants who are looking to be able to find ways to maximize the budgets that are available.